Welcome to Bass Habits episode number 75. Today we're going to talk about playing bass in The Doors. The Doors need no introduction. Controversial, influential and iconic. In one word, legendary. The group is widely regarded as an important figure of the era's counterculture, a seminal band that would continue to influence rock music for decades. Of course, it's also well known that the Doors did not have a bass player. In terms of live performance, keyboard player Ray Manzarek held down the bottom end with his left hand on the Fender Rhodes. According to the band, the lack of a bass guitarist freed up sonic space and helped the group distinguish their sound from all the other acts of the scene.
Love me one time, baby.
But the Doors hadn't always been bassless. In their early years, when they were still called Rick and the Ravens, the band featured Manzarek's brothers, Rick and Jim, and bass player Paddy Sullivan, who played on the 1965 group's demos. The 6 tracks include the early version of End of the Night, Moonlight Drive, and Hello, I Love You.
Jump in your game. Hello, I love you. Won't you tell me your name? Hello.
A few weeks after the recordings were made, the band switched their name. Manzarek's brothers left, Krieger joined on guitar, and Paddy was shown the door when Manzarek decided he could perform bass on the keyboard. When the band began laying down the tracks for its self-titled debut album, producer Paul Rothchild decided that Manzarek's keyboard bass wasn't quite cutting it in the studio, and he brought in bassist Larry Natchell to strengthen the sound of 6 of the album's 11 songs. Natchell's work went uncredited. According to John Densmore, it was so because he duplicated Ray's left-hand bass lines exactly, overdubbing them with a Fender Precision bass at a later time. His work is pretty basic, mainly it's pentatonic runs to go with the keyboards, but it does make the overall sound of the band definitely heavier.
She's a 20th. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if.
The bass makes a large use of triads. The bass lines were composed by Ray Manzarek, and in fact they often act as the left hand of the piano.
Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire.
Generally speaking, the music of the Doors doesn't have many chord changes, and a lot of songs revolve around only one chord. The end, for example, is just one chord throughout the whole song, with Manzarek playing what is basically a deep power chord arpeggio the whole time.
Again.
Though Natchell wouldn't play on any future Doors recordings, his role established a trend of ghost bassist on all of the band's albums to come. The next man tapped for the gig was Doug Laban, who many fans now consider the 5th member of the Doors. Laban explained that Rothchild asked him to record some bass parts for the Doors' second LP, Strange Days. He ended up playing on 7 of the LP's 10 tracks, and at some point he was even asked to become a full-time member of the band. You Lost Little Girl features a pretty cool walking bass line that uses the E natural minor scale. On Love Me Two Times, it's the octave-driven bass line that gives the song its bouncy feeling. Although he didn't join the Doors, the bassist continued to work in a session capacity for the band. Though he handled most of the bass guitar on Waiting for the Sun, 2 other players added to the sessions. Kerry Magness played on The Unknown Soldier, while jazz musician Leroy Vinegar performed acoustic bass on the atmospheric Spanish Caravan. Laban played bass on 3 tracks for the Soft Parade: Easy Ride, White Child, and Wishful Sinful. For the rest of the record, Rothchild hired Harvey Brooks, trying to bring a new angle to the Doors sound. Brooks ended up laying the groundwork for 6 tracks, including the propulsive hit Touch Me.
That I am not afraid. What was that promise that
Compared to the previous records, the Soft Parades features a more prominent bass play, not confined to a mere reinforcement of the keyboard part.
Well, I've got the running blues running away.
Brooks was not invited back for future contributions. Densmore noted that the band changed bass players for Morrison Hotel, the following record, because it was a different feel. The band returned to a hard edge sound and reeled in some rock and blues oriented bass players to play on the record. Ray Neapolitan, who spent time as a member of Joe Cocker's band, handled the bass lines for 8 of the LP's songs, while blues guitarist Lonnie Mack slammed on bass for 2 tracks, aiding the blustery drive of Roadhouse Blues and the deep groove of Maggie M'Gill. The Doors continued to move in a blues rock direction for the next album, LA Woman, the last before the tragic death of singer Jim Morrison. Once again, a new bassist was brought in to strengthen the band's sound. This time out, the duties fell to LA studio man Jerry Scheff, who had recently joined Elvis Presley's famed TCB band. Scheff played on every one of LA Woman's tracks. The record features a lot of cool and driving bass lines, like the iconic intro of the title track, the walking bass line to Love Her medley, and the beautiful atmospheric Riders on the Storm, a Dorian scale at its finest. For a band with no bass player, the Doors sure have a lot of bass-driven songs. Jim Morrison died in April 1971, within 3 months of the release of LA Woman. When the Doors' remaining members decided to soldier on without Morrison, Scheff continued to play a role, recording parts for the 3 tracks of 1971's Other Voices and almost all of the bass tracks for the 1978 reunion record, An American Prayer, which featured posthumous vocals from Morrison. In addition to it, the remaining members of the Doors reunited on a couple of occasions, each time with different bass players, bringing the total to about 20 of them. And though the bass guitar isn't normally considered part of their sound, it does have its importance. Thank you very much for watching, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment and follow me on Instagram for more.